I saw the Pacific Palisades aftermath from the fires, and it was devastating. Homes were torched to the ground, supermarkets, restaurants, office buildings, all caved in and charred from the inferno. Banks like Chase, Bank of America, and others were wiped out, almost a telling sign of what's even going on at the federal level in regards to a move towards a one world global financial system. Anyways, I was granted access into what seemed to be an apocalyptic war zone. Homes turned to ashes. The only thing that remained were the foundations and chimneys. Cars slammed into each other on one side of the street. On the other, they were melted to the ground, telling a very horrific story of people fleeing from the inferno on four wheels, having nowhere to go, being forced to flee their vehicles in the middle of the road to find safety. This was a very eerie drive. How did I get here? Well, I was granted access into the isolated area because I was bringing breakfast to those on the front line. I brought over 100 donuts donated by the local donut shop here in Laguna Niguel, Sunnyside Donuts. What's going on, family and friends? I am outside of Sunnyside Donuts here in Laguna Niguel. I'm gonna pick up a few dozen boxes and take them up to the firefighters in LA battling the fires on the front line. This is the least that I can do to help these service workers that are on the front line battling these ferocious flames, and this is a very important time for us to come together as a community and participate and help out, whether you're donating clothes, food, you name it. But I just want to say thank you to the team at Sunnyside Donuts, George, Gons, you guys are legends. I also brought gallons of milk, orange juice, and other treats, stopping off at every National Guard station I could. I gave donuts to security guards, firefighters posted in the Pacific Palisades, and even firefighters refueling their fire trucks at the command station off PCH in Malibu. I even offered donuts to tree trimmers that were deployed to clean up the dried brush around the homes that were still standing, doing what they could to preserve what remained of the city. Basically, I tried to take care of anyone who I had crossed paths with while making my way down what used to be a picturesque Sunset Boulevard. Surprisingly, the most appreciated gifts I brought were the glove warmers. Many of those brave individuals, men and women, on the front line were working overnight, some even 16 hours straight, so I knew they would appreciate a little warm-up. When I was handing out donuts and supplies, I was able to get a few moments with these individuals, asking them what their perspectives were. This security man blamed DWP, stating how the winds were knocking down electrical cables, which caused the fire in the Pacific Palisades. DWP ended up shutting down all the power in the area as a result to the fire. So if there were any residents still in the area, they're having to resort to personal generators. Here's a local resident packing his car full of gas to refill his generators. He said he saved over 5 homes with a high-pressure pump, pulling gallons of water out of his own pool to try and take care of his house along with his neighbors.
There were no fire engines around. Nobody was around.
Yeah.
I have a high-pressure fire pump to pump water out of a pool, and then a few of the local volunteer brigade were there.
Wow.
And so we just had fire hoses coming out of the pool, basically.
Really?
Yeah. And we say in my house, the house next door, 3 across the street.
Doesn't make sense why there was just no fire personnel.
Nobody was there.
No one.
No.
Back to the security guard's comment about DWP.
Maybe this entire thing could have been the fault of the DWP.
I believe what he said had some validity, because when I was driving up Sunset Boulevard and seeing all the dry brush and trees hanging over the power lines, those Santa Ana winds would have easily disconnected a cable or two, causing sparks, which would have quickly ignited the dry and humid brush. I mean, it's right in your face. But I also believe there could have been a few other reasons for the massive loss to the Pacific Palisades, Pasadena, Altadena, and beyond. Starting with the state government oversight, lack of accountability, or shall I say criminal and intentional negligence. Were the Santa Ana winds blowing typically harder this year than usual? Absolutely. I was watching the trees in my own backyard down here in Orange County going crazy. But what about the number of reservoirs and fire hydrants throughout the area which were underutilized and underprepared for these given circumstances, which happen on an annual basis? Soon-to-be President Trump confirmed he worked with Gavin Newsom back in 2019 to improve our water situation for California, having the necessary deals inked up and ready to go to route the millions of gallons of fresh water from the north.
Gavin Newsom had an opportunity to have millions of gallons a week, a day, millions and millions of gallons come down from the north. And I was able to get him federal approval from that, from the Department of Commerce of all departments. I didn't realize it would go through Commerce. I would have thought environmental, but it goes through Commerce. I got all of the approvals, and he said, I don't want to sign it. I don't want the water. We don't need the water. I said, you need the water. Your reservoirs are empty, the whole place. You need the water. That was 5 years ago. And I had it all done. The work was all done. We sent it to him. He refused to sign it. And if you noticed yesterday, the hydrants were empty. They didn't have any water, many of them. They said 20%, but now I just heard 50%, and now none of them have water, and that fire is still raging. When he turned that down, I was going to give him unlimited water. It would come down. It really comes down from the north, way up north, including parts of Canada. It's so much water that they wouldn't know what to do with. Just the opposite would have happened. And that's the reason that this happened. He wouldn't do what we wanted. And we're going to force that upon him now. But it's very late, because I think it's one of the great catastrophes in the history of our nation. This is not just in Los Angeles. I've never seen anything like that, devastation. And we're talking about homes that cost $200, $300, $400 million. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And very influential people worldwide. I don't know that they ever go back either, because, you know, they weren't happy with California. They weren't happy with Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom will say anything he needs to say. And not like Biden's not like this, actually. Whatever Biden's fault, he's not like this. Like Biden, when, you know, he has like guilt. If he's lying to you, he gets twitchy. Gavin Newsom's palms don't sweat. His respiration doesn't increase. His body temperature doesn't change. Nothing changes in Gavin Newsom when he lies to your face. And there are not that many people like that, actually. That's a rare quality. Like, to lock down the state, to keep people's kids from getting an education, and to arrest people for surfing, and then go have dinner at the French Laundry. Like, most people couldn't do that. They'd just be like,
You're saying he's a sociopath. He can lie and not care.
I'm not a psychiatrist, but so I don't know that, I don't really know the category, and I'm not going to diagnose him, but I'll just say in 50 years of being around a lot of people, I've met very few who can behave that way. Very, very few. It's a very unusual quality, and of course, it's probably useful in politics.
They weren't happy with their whole lifestyle there, with the crime being out of control, all the other problems. They were not happy.
Trump has been saying that Newsom needs to do this since 2019, but no, he didn't do this. And now this is happening. This is why elections matter, folks.
So why didn't Gavin Newsom work in the best interests of his constituents throughout the SoCal region? Why did Gavin Newsom wait for something horrendous like this to occur? Why did Mayor Karen Bass abandon her beloved city of LA amidst severe wind and fire warnings? Was it because she has an ulterior motive? Like to see the city of Los Angeles implement a smart city under the Information Technology Agency, ITA, which she also takes a leadership role on? Was this their motive or goal all along? To let LA burn so they could build back better at the cost of hundreds of thousands of people's homes, their livelihoods, and beloved community? We're talking about some of the most affluent neighborhoods in the world, absolutely obliterated like a bomb dropped, or maybe something even worse, like a direct energy weapon, like what was potentially used in Maui. Did you know that there's a surge in interest in direct energy weapons from several nations, including the United States, primarily for counter-drone missions and other defense purposes? After doing a little digging, I found a bill introduced into Congress, Bill S.2778, by New Mexico Senators Heinrich Martin, a Democrat, back in 2016, encouraging the rapid acquisition of directed energy weapon systems by the Department of Defense. The bill paves way for a strategic plan for development and transition of directed energy weapon capabilities and use of new and revised DoD policies to accelerate the development and transition of direct energy capabilities towards fielding. What does fielding mean? I have no idea, but if somebody has any clue, please let me know in the comments below. Here's an international patent classification for directed energy weapons with a publication date of February 18th, 2016. Check out the names of the listed inventors. If these weapons are used for defense purposes, what would happen if this technology got into the wrong hands and directed towards, I don't know, let's just say dried brush? Since 1960, the Department of Defense has invested more than $6 billion in directed energy science and technology initiatives. That's more than 60 years ago. Just imagine where the technology is today.
In today's event, it's the first time that a modern fiber laser weapon system with adaptive optics was able to negate a cruise missile.
Direct energy weapons today have been deemed complementary to conventional weapons. Direct energy weapons use energy fired at the speed of light, making them faster and potentially less costly per shot than missiles. Some direct energy weapons have virtually unlimited ammunition and can fire as long as they have power. So was this in fact one of the causes for the chaos throughout Los Angeles? Was this why the National Guard was deployed? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, enough about direct energy weapons. Who really knows if they're strapped onto satellites or hypersonic glide vehicles? Regardless, the damage is done and there's zero accountability at the leadership level for the lack of preparedness across the board. Don't even get me started about the insurance carriers non-renewing thousands of Los Angeles homeowners' policies before the LA fires broke out, having been deemed to be located in a hazardous brush fire location. These moves by the incumbents and those in charge stink to the high heavens above. Our leaders, like our California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Laura, appear to be more worried about pronouns under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion, what is thought to be by many a stepping stone for injecting gender and identity into Marxist-like discourse, appearing as a deliberate strategy to create confusion and division from the highest levels of leadership. For instance, meet LA's water chief, Janice Quinones, who knew about the empty reservoir and broken fire hydrants months before the fires. In one of her recent interviews, she emphasized equity as her top priority, stating that all actions should be viewed as an equity lens for social justice.
Coming from the communities that I come, seeing what I've seen through my career in utilities and through the military, I've been in the Coast Guard 19 and a half years now, so I got 6 more months to qualify for my 20 years, which was my original goal.
Wow, congratulations, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's important to me that everything we do, it's with an equity lens and social justice and making sure that we right the wrongs that we've done in the past from an infrastructure perspective and that we involve the community in that process. And this utility is serious about it, is authentic about it. And so I'm just super excited to be part of that movement.
What does diversity, equity, and inclusion have anything to do with utilities and the necessary infrastructures for safeguarding the lives of civilians? Other than a political stunt, Mayor Bass hired Janice and paid her 72% more than her predecessor, which equates to a $750,000 annual salary. That's more than the President of the United States makes per year, paid by us taxpayers to ensure that there's enough water to fight the numerous wildfires that the area routinely faces. In fact, Quinones oversaw the shutdown and emptying of the Santa Ynez Reservoir to repair a tear while ignoring all the broken fire hydrants.
This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. So how long has this reservoir been empty for?
Since February of last year.
They say it's closed for maintenance to repair the lid that's on top of it. I don't know a lot about reservoir maintenance, but there's literally no construction materials or vehicles anywhere in sight.
So seeing that she failed her mission, does Quinones still deserve her salary and title? I don't think so.
If you can't cover the basics, get out of our city. You are useless to us. You are a liability, and you have destroyed people's lives because you didn't do your job. You didn't do what you were hired for. You didn't do what we pay you for, and you should resign out of shame and responsibility for the people whose lives you've destroyed right now.
They won't resign at all. They don't have the dignity or the honor to do that.
Oh, and one last fun fact about Quinones. She was an executive at PG&E when they were found responsible for the Dixie Fire that had burned more than 30,000 acres in Northern California back in 2021.
Tonight, a wildfire's wrath, leaving another California town in ash. Greenville, California, destroyed. A town of about 800 that stood since the gold rush. At 322,000 acres, the Dixie Fire is now the size of Los Angeles and the 6th largest fire in California history.
During her tenure at PG&E, she was the SVP of Gas Engineering, later reassigned to SVP of Electric Operations in July of 2022. So did she have direct oversight and shared responsibility of the Dixie Fire? Who knows, but there's no such thing as coincidences. Moving on, there seems to be a video spreading misinformation about the Oregon fire crews that were sent out on strike missions to support with battling the LA fires. This misinformation video mentioned the Oregon strike teams were stopped in Sacramento County for inspection. The video states that they were delayed and some even sent back home. I had a chance to connect with the crew from Oregon when handing out donuts. They said the stop in Sacramento was a necessary overnight routine exercise that went smoothly. Shifting gears, what's crazy is the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, cut the LA Fire Department's funding by $17.6 million last year in order to budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, while increasing the LA Police Department's funding by $126 million. This impacted the number of stations opened, impacting the number of firefighters that could be employed throughout the city, and the necessary resources to service the fire trucks. Meanwhile, there were more than 13,000 encampment fires reported over the past year, up from the incidental numbers the years prior.
Yes, we took a $17 million budget cut. And as we know, any budget cut would negatively impact our ability to carry out our mission. I want to also clarify that I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. It's my job as the fire chief for the Los Angeles City Fire Department to make sure that our firefighters have exactly what they need to do their jobs. And that's why I'm talking to you today.
Talk is cheap, Miss Crowley, and a little late for that.
Also, we have clear data that shows the LAFD needs more help. We need 62 more fire stations. These reports also show that we've had a 55% increase in overall call volume since 2010. And guess what? We're doing it with less firefighters.
So yes, the LA County Fire Department was cut millions of dollars in funding leading up to the fires, but following the LA fires, FEMA deployed more than $8 billion for support and aid. However, only $392,400 is for housing assistance when 180,000 residents were evacuated. That's only $2.18 per person. The remaining $7.7 billion is going towards other needs. What does that include? Who does that go towards? Who knows?
From 2020 to 2023, the number of fires in homeless encampments have doubled. Last year alone, reporting 13,909. In 2018, by the way, there were only 7 homeless encampment fires. Keep in mind, in the same time frame, California spent $24 billion with a B dollars on the homeless problem, as they called it. By the way, most of that money is completely unaccounted for at this present time.
But if blockchain was involved, an immutable, transparent ledger that could keep track of this spending, specifically the fastest and most highly regulated blockchain in the world called the XRP ledger, we could track funding 100% of the time, no questions asked. Like the billions of dollars California had supposedly deployed to provide aid to the homeless just last year. The citizens of LA deserve answers. The voters of California deserve far better. From FEMA, Mayor Bass, Gavin Newsom, and all grossly negligent parties involved. But will we get answers? Or are we just going to watch LA's Mayor Bass read a script and smile? Or hear Gavin Newsom lie, deflect answers, point the finger at local state officials, and or blame Trump, who's not even sworn into office yet? What about Biden? Those who are still in charge? Where are they right now?
You know, I think you're getting a bad rap. I know you're getting a bad rap about these fire hydrants don't have enough water in them. Give me a break. Give me a break. What this is all about is the utilities, understandably.
When is the legacy media going to start doing their homework and get to the bottom of what really matters, rather than trying to shame those with a difference of opinion?
But right now, that is not exactly what is happening. Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose. So I guess none of us should have been shocked this week when Elon Musk posted that the Los Angeles Fire Department prioritized DEI over saving lives and homes. That's an exact quote.
It's obvious what their agenda is, which is a shame because it underscores the unraveling of legacy media, and I feel sorry for those of you who still subscribe to this garbage. Sad. But hey, the legacy media's got to do whatever they have to do, like bring props to stay relevant in order to compete with platforms like X, where real patriots are stepping into the box and taking a swing at sharing what matters, sharing the truth, and being there for the community. Now, with that being said, I pray for those of you who were impacted by the fires, and I hope you're able to return to some sort of normalcy sooner rather than later. Realistically, this is going to take years to rebuild, and more than likely we're going to see a major number of these people who were forced to flee their homes have to flee from California, or at least LA. And I hope their insurance policies in fact do help them rebuild back to the replacement costs defined on their insurance policies. And a special note to those of you who are responsible for this devastation, totaling in the billions, justice will be served. And in my heart of hearts, everything settles as it should. Now thanks for tuning in. Love you mucho.